Let's move straight into our next panel, the Food CEO's MAGAPOLIS. The last 12 to 15 months since the last Food Forum have been a particularly difficult time for industry in general, for retail. We've had the effect of everything from demonetization to GST being introduced. And it's been a challenging time for business in general. So to talk about how this change that we've seen over the last 12 to 15 months has affected industry and how one can stay relevant today with everything that's going on, and more importantly, stay relevant in the next decade, we have a great panel, and I'd like to call up on stage Aditya Pitti, Managing Director of the Pitti Group, Amal Kelchikar, GM and Country Head, Abbott Nutrition, Arvind Das, COO, Godrej Tyson, Kamaldeep Singh, Group Business Head, Food Business, Future Group, Oliver Mirza, Managing Director and CEO, Dr. Oetker, Prashant Parameshwaran, Managing Director, Soulful, Kotaram Agro Foods, Shivam Gupta, CEO, Cambay Tiger, Sudhakar Desai, CEO, Imami Foods, Tej Katpitya, CEO, Sri Sri Tattva, Yogesh Pilani, CEO, Field Fresh Foods. So let me get that list out again. Aditya Pitti, Amal Kelchikar, Arvind Das, Kamaldeep Singh, Oliver Mirza, Prashant Parameshwaran, Shivam Gupta, Sudhakar Desai, Tej Katpitya, Yogesh Bilani. Technology is a wonderful thing. Occasionally, it ends up in print. Moderating the session, I'd like to call Radha back on stage.
All right, so one challenge before lunch and one challenge after lunch, okay? So we're back with a largish panel. So I was telling Roy that this is the first panels I've seen where we got more than 15 people on a dais. And but we'll try and make the best of, but I can assure you, this panel is as diverse as you can get, from nutrition right down to seafood trawling. We have everything. So let me set the context of what we're going to do. The context is about food. And we want to understand how food has changed in the last 3 years, what's the context today, and the way food is going to go in the next 3 years. I have to deal with each of these panelists like a segment of one because all of them are from different businesses. There's almost no thread. So I'm trying to find a thread. From a food point of view, I think the way to look at food and the way it has significance to a channel is to use two terms to describe food, which will determine in which channel it is most comfortable. Is involvement shopping and non-involvement shopping. Involvement shopping is where you need to understand, browse, feel, touch, examine, study, research before you actually buy. Non-involvement shopping is where you know what that brand is and you don't have to actually interact with the brand before you buy it. To the panelists, I was quoting some example from my childhood. I grew up in Delhi, and well, I'm not that old, but it was many years ago. My mother used to send me shopping, and she would give me one bag, and I'm talking about 1970s, early 70s. She used to give me a bag saying that this is for rice, this is for atta, a bottle for oil. The penetration of branded food at that time was so low that it was almost 100% involvement shopping. Except for Coca-Cola, almost nothing was branded. And even biscuit was bought loose by the kilo. When you have a situation like that, you need a lot of reassurance from the place that you're buying. And my mother would tell me, "Acha, wo mustard oil kaka ji se hi lena." Okay. Because you know that retailer will give you good mustard oil, and therefore it was involvement shopping. Today, if you want to buy atta, you want to buy Ashirwad, multigrain atta, you don't have to think about it. Food has become largely non-involvement, except for meat, fruit and vegetable, dairy, a large part of dairy has become non-involvement. So I'm going to address some issues with the panelists around telling us how their category has grown in the last 3 years, where they are today in the context of the internet and e-commerce separately, and what's going to happen in the next 3 years. So, Amal, I'm going to start with you. Amal's from Abbott, and since I've not introduced you separately, you might give a very brief background of what you do and what your company does. And it's of great interest in nutrition. At one time, I used to be involved in a group called Health and Glow, which is now part of the RPG, and there in the Guardian Pharmacy in Singapore, nutrition was such a massive segment, but it didn't exist in India then. I don't think it exists today. So what's your take?
So good evening. Am I audible?
Just one second, Amal.
Hello. Yeah.
That's better.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amal Kelshikar. I head the Abbott nutrition business. You're right, absolutely, Radha, when you say that the nutrition business in many ways is a nascent phase. What has happened in the context of last few years? One is that the way the consumer behavior has changed is quite significant. Today, if you look at in terms of online search, you'll find electronics, fashion, and health. So health is playing more and more importance these days in the marketplace. Consumers are far more aware, are health conscious because of their lifestyle. And that is definitely impacting in the way they are making decisions and the choices that they make in terms of some of the food that they consume. So in Abbott Nutrition, we say we nourish body at every stage of the life, right from infant, child to the adults. And I'll just give one example in the context of your first question, what has changed in the last 3 years. Important to remember, there are more and more nuclear families now, there are more and more working women. For us, the biggest consumer or the biggest customer is a mother. Now, some things don't change, right? A mother will always be a mother. She'll care a lot about her child. It will matter a lot. But what is not in her control is how the lifestyle is changing for her child. When the child goes, today the children are far more involved in many activities than they were before. The lifestyle is more demanding. It's just not about academics, but all some of the extracurricular activities that they do. So for mother, the only control probably she has is what is the breakfast she's giving and some of the food that she's able to send home, and hopefully he's eating the food that she's sending through the tiffin, or depend on his judgment what the child is eating outside. So what is in her control? Breakfast. So she tries to ensure that is she giving the right nourishment to the child, because once the child leaves for school and the extracurricular activities back to back, that's not in her control. So in terms of behavior, now, if I take the category, one of the categories that we operate in toddler, milk food drinks, they existed for the last 80 years. Has that changed? Yes, it has changed, because now the mother clearly looks at what is the content of the product that I'm giving, what are the milk food drinks that I'm giving, what is the nourishment he's getting, what is the protein he's getting, what is the carbohydrate he's getting, what is the level of sugar is going to down to that level, and how is it helping my child, perform better on his day-to-day activities. And that is significantly driving his behavior, and that's significantly changing in terms of what expectations they have from the product.
So Amal, what are the brands that...
So we have Pediasure, which plays in the toddler category. And, we have seen a clear, when we interact with the consumers, we have seen that questions coming in our interface, in our consumer visits, through our various channels that we communicate with them, that they are asking about the contents of the product, what it does, how does it benefit, what are the claims, how is it going to help her child?
So I want to ask you. I mean, I think I've sold more Pediasure than you can imagine.
Yes.
As a retailer in the last few years, what I see in Pediasure, when I look at it like a retailer, it seems to me more like nutrition rather than a health drink. Is that the positioning that you have? Because I'm talking about Horlicks. I mean, if you go to Tamil Nadu, if the host loves you, they'll give you Horlicks. So since I don't like Horlicks, I tell the host, give me anything but Horlicks, right? Because I think Tamil Nadu is the biggest market for Horlicks. But I see Pediasure, the way you branded it, and the way you communicate, and you're definitely more expensive than Horlicks and Bonvita.
It's much better product.
How have yeah, sure, you should say that. But how have you positioned yourself vis-a-vis the health drinks?
So one of the, obviously when you enter a crowded market, and we entered only about 10 years back, we brought in the expert position. It is recommended by experts, so we have the doctor recommendation behind this globally as well as locally, so that brings in a lot of strength. We have a science behind it. We are the only brand which has nearly 21 trials to prove what the product, how it benefits.
Wow.
So we have used that data point to convey the benefits. And as I said, what the mother is looking for, she's not looking for just another drink. She's looking for a drink which will give him that benefit that she wants to deliver. Because she knows the expectation on the child is much more now than ever before.
Wonderful.
So that is absolutely changing, and we are seeing that pattern everywhere. And Tamil Nadu also happens to be our biggest market for us.
So, Tej, I'm going to come to you. And Tej is the CEO of the Sri Sri organization, and it is not only nutrition for the body, but seems to be nutrition for the soul. So, how do you position products? I mean, Baba Ramdev's done a fantastic job in his area, and the curious question is, are you different from Baba Ramdev, or you're not in competition in terms of brand positioning? And where do you see food in the context of the organization that you build? Because we see most revered Sri Sri to be, we relate with him emotionally. So how do you position what you sell?
Well, thank you. Hello? Yeah, so thank you, I do too. I'm Tej from Sri Sri Tattva. Sri Sri Tattva is actually a rebranding that we have done from Ayurveda, and rightly so. So I'd like to answer the question in my own way. The last 3 years, especially in my view, have seen a tremendous upsurge in a new age customer, if I may call them that, looking for new product offerings that come with value of trust, come with the promise of purity and also quality. So it has been our endeavor in Sri Sri Tattva, when we move into the food segment, to bring about two types of products. One is on the innovative side, so we do have a health drink as well that is called Ojasvita, which is powered by 7 herbs. And it's been around for a good 5 to 6 years now, and now we are also a little bit more aggressive in terms of how to bring it to market. It is a differentiated offering. It is based on science. Ayurveda, as you know, is an age-old science, and backed by a lot of texts and traditional knowledge behind the combination of those herbs. So we are working towards innovation and seeing that we can bring about products that have values that are palatable to a modern audience. The second area, or the second space where we feel, there can be a lot of interest, and there has been interest over the past couple of years, are products that are typical and indigenous to different types of geographies in our country. So you will find that, each state in our country has different products, be it natural products, be it staples, groceries, offerings which are to their identity. But you will also find that the entire space of, e-commerce allows people from different geographies to actually partake of those products. So it's not only about groceries and staples. You may also find a great population of people from South India who would love to have the authentic Mysore Pak in Delhi. So I feel that the last 3 years has really seen a big mix-up of people across geographies, the new age individual traveling, not living, not working in their hometown, being very health conscious, opening up a range of opportunities in the food space. And I think e-commerce is one which plays a dual role. One is it educates, It allows people to get into the depth, not only in terms of pack size and MRP or USP, but also in terms of the nutrition, the promise of the product, and they can further then research through the internet to see how that adds value. At the same time, it gives them a very easy opportunity to sample that. So I feel that the next couple of years are really going to help set the base. Definitely products that have an authentic offering, products that have a differentiated offering, will stand out, will become a part of people's homes and people's kitchens. And I feel that's what our endeavor is going to be in the food space, more or less.
So,
yeah?
you speak like any other FMCG company, but are you?
Well, is that something bad?
No, I'm not. I'm just asking.
So I feel that, we were born out of Ayurveda. Over a decade ago, our strength was drawn from Ayurveda medicine and OTC as well. Over time, with our channel partners, with people who actually believe in the brand promise, we did move into personal care. And most recent of it has been food, which is why you see us sitting here, center stage now. And I feel that one has to play the game, if I may call it so, as anyone else does. But one thing we will not deviate from is the promise that we give through our products. We're very committed to delivering what we promise, to whatever degree, to whatever size. And I feel the next few years are going to be very exciting.
Why I asked Tej is because the eventual goal of all brand building and advertising is to eventually appeal to the emotional sense of the customer. Right? Once you're emotionally in with the customer, then the brand has much better salience. I think, does your brand pre-qualify itself to already appealing to another sense, and then the brand, or you still have to build that emotional connect?
Well, I should hope so, but I would treat today's, individual customer as very intelligent, very perceptive. What the positives are is they're very health conscious. They're willing to try new things. And I think, again, to answer your question, while there would definitely be a certain value that comes from, the words Shri Shri, part of our brand name, which is Shri Shri Tattva, I think like any other brand, we would definitely have to move out there, be innovative, prove ourselves. And that is the space that we're actually looking at encashing on. And we're sure that over a period of time, we'll be able to do that.
We are, as Indians, we are more than happy to see an Indian brand succeed.
Absolutely.
India is not great at building its own brands.
And one
and
more
we are very
thing-
happy to
yeah.
see this.
And one more thing, if I may add, is that, today it also, as a country, we are on the map, and largely so.
Exactly.
Not only because by virtue of, our Prime Minister's, Honorable Prime Minister's travels, or by virtue of, the wealth we bring through Ayurveda and yoga through multiple organizations in our country. India is a force to be reckoned with. So why not bring about local produce to the world?
No, I think that is absolutely great. So I keep telling people, we get up in the morning and everything we use till we sleep is all multinational. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's great at a point of time to start having some solid Indian brands, right? But
And more so making India
so it's just as well that the market is as open as actually it is today.